Rain slashes through the dark alley like needles. A wheelchair creaks forward, and then a shape beneath a bus stop. Starving, shivering, unmistakable. The Marine's breath stops. Valker, his voice cracks. He thought he'd buried him in Afghanistan. But somehow, his dog is alive. The city at night was drenched in a cold, weeping silence. Rain drumming against cracked pavement. Neon signs bleeding color into puddles. The hum of distant traffic like a lullaby for the lonely. Marine Sergeant Marcus Reed pushed his wheelchair forward with slow, aching determination, arms burning with every rotation, his soaked fatigues clinging to a body that still remembered how to run, how to fight, how to fall. 2 years since Helmand Province. 2 years since the IED stole his legs, and he believed his best friend. Now, life moved in measured intervals. Physical therapy, V8 check-ins, nights staring at the ceiling while ghosts whispered in the dark. He wasn't heading anywhere urgent, just another appointment, another echo of a life that used to mean something. But then he saw it, a shape huddled inside the glass bus shelter, curled tight like a question mark in the rain. Thin, still, trembling. He rolled closer, heart hammering against his ribs. Through the downpour, he saw a German shepherd, ribs visible beneath matted fur, one ear torn, eyes half-lidded with exhaustion. But it was the scar above the right eye, thin, white, jagged, that stopped his breath. No, he whispered, voice fracturing. It can't be. Valker had died in that blast. Marcus had held his blood-soaked harness and been told there was no body to recover. He'd buried a collar beneath a rock and carried the grief like a second spine. Yet here, in this forgotten alley of a city that never looked back, stood a ghost. The dog lifted his head slightly. Ears twitched. Not fear, not aggression, recognition. Marcus reached out slowly, rain dripping from his fingertips. Hey, buddy, he murmured, voice raw. It's me. The shepherd flinched, then stilled. His nose quivered. He inhaled deeply and whined. A soft, broken sound that unraveled something deep inside Marcus. Memories flooded back. Valker bounding ahead on patrols, tail high, ears sharp, sleeping shoulder to shoulder in desert nights, so cold their breath crystallized. The way he'd press his muzzle into Marcus's palm during thunderstorms, as if to say, I'm here. It had all ended in fire and silence. The day of the ambush began like any other. Relentless sun, dry wind, tension coiled in every step. Valker had stiffened suddenly, ears rigid, tail frozen. Marcus had just whispered, easy boy, when the world exploded. A deafening roar, blinding light, then weightlessness, darkness. He woke in a field hospital with no legs and no dog. Killed in action, they'd said. Presumed dead. He'd begged them to search. He always comes back, he'd pleaded, but they never found him. Until now. The dog took one trembling step forward, then collapsed against Marcus's knees, too weak to stand but pressing his muzzle into the familiar scent of the man who'd once been his whole world. Marcus wrapped his arms around him, sobbing into his fur, whispering apologies, prayers, promises. I thought you were gone forever, he choked out. I'm so sorry I wasn't there. And Valker, for the first time in months, closed his eyes, not in surrender, but in trust. Neighbors helped carry Valker into a borrowed van, and Marcus held him the entire ride to the emergency veterinary clinic, the dog's head resting on his lap. Every shallow breath a quiet battle. Inside, nurses moved with urgency. For fluids, warm blankets, monitors beeping like distant heartbeats. Dr. Lin, the lead vet, examined Valker with gentle hands. Severely underweight, dehydrated, blood pressure critical, she said. She lifted his paws, raw, crack covered in old scabs. He's been walking for months, maybe longer. Marcus's throat tightened. How do you know? She pointed to rope burns around his neck, healed fractures in his legs. He was tied up, abused. But look at these. She gestured to shrapnel scars near his shoulder. He survived the blast. Someone found him after, but not the right someone. Marcus's stomach twisted. He pictured Valker stolen, sold, used, discarded. He escaped, Dr. Lin continued softly. the wear on his paws, the direction of his journey. He was heading home, following a memory, a voice. She met Marcus's eyes. He came back for you. Marcus didn't leave the clinic. He slept in a stiff chair, hand always resting on Valker's back, speaking to him in the quiet hours, recounting missions, sharing memories, reminding him they were safe now. Slowly, Valker returned. His eyes brightened. His breathing steadied. His tail gave the faintest hopeful thump whenever Marcus spoke. He'd nudge his hand during nightmares, as if to say, "I'm here too." On the morning Valker finally stood on his own, shaky but resolute, Marcus wheeled to the kennel door, heart in his throat. The dog turned, limped forward, and pressed his head into Marcus's chest with a soft, relieved whine that echoed through every wound they'd both carried. Marcus signed the adoption papers without hesitation. "I lost you once," he murmured, scratching behind Valker's good ear. "Never again." They left the clinic together under a pale winter sun, man and dog, broken but rebuilding. Valker walked beside the wheelchair, matching Marcus's pace with quiet loyalty, his presence a silent vow. And for the first time in years, Marcus didn't feel like a ghost. He felt seen, known, whole. In the weeks that followed, their healing became a shared journey. Valker learned the rhythm of Marcus's days, the squeak of the wheelchair, the sound of his voice reading aloud, the gentle tap of his hand signaling it was time to rest. Marcus, in turn, rediscovered purpose. He started volunteering with a K-9 veteran support group, sharing Valker's story to raise awareness about retired military working dogs, heroes often forgotten when their service ends. People came from miles away just to meet them, to witness the unspoken language between a man and the dog who crossed deserts, highways, and storms to find him again. Children would kneel gently beside Valker, tears in their eyes, whispering, "You're so brave." And Valker, once starved and broken, would lean into their touch, proof that kindness can restore what cruelty tried to destroy. On quiet evenings, they'd sit on the porch, Valker resting his head on Marcus's lap, both watching the sunset in silence. No words needed, just presence, just proof that love doesn't end with loss. It waits, it fights, and sometimes, against all odds, it returns. Marcus began sleeping through the night. Valker stopped flinching at sudden noises. They went for walks in the park, slow and steady, drawing smiles from strangers who sensed they were witnessing something rare, a second chance, written in scars and loyalty. One afternoon, Marcus received a letter from the Department of Defense. After reviewing new evidence, satellite imagery, local witness accounts, and recovered gear, they officially reclassified Valker's status. Asterisk survived. Recovered. Asterisk, the words brought fresh tears. It wasn't just validation. It was vindication for every night Marcus refused to believe his dog was gone. He framed the letter and hung it beside their photo from basic training. Underneath, he wrote, asterisk, heroes don't quit, and neither do the ones who love them. Asterisk. Months later, Marcus and Valker stood at a military K-9 memorial ceremony. As taps played and flags fluttered in the wind, Marcus placed a single dog tag, engraved with both their names, on the stone wall. Valker sat perfectly still, head high, ears forward, the picture of honor. A young veteran in a wheelchair approached afterward, eyes glistening. "My K-9 didn't make it," he said quietly. Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then let Valker carry his memory too," he replied. And in that moment, their story became more than a reunion. It became a beacon. If this story moved you, please hit like, share it with someone who needs to believe in miracles, and subscribe to Rescue Tales. And tell me in the comments, what would you name a K-9 hero like Valker? I read every single one, because hope isn't just a word. It's a dog limping through rain, following a memory, all the way back to the man who loved him. They told Marcus the war was over. But as Valker leaned against his leg and the sun broke through the clouds, he knew the truth. Some bonds are stronger than bullets, stronger than time, stronger than loss. And sometimes, heroes don't just come home once. They find their way back a second time to heal the hearts they left behind. In the end, It wasn't just Valker who was rescued that rainy night. It was Marcus, too. And in each other, they found a home they'd both been searching for forever.